Daniel Prescott walked into the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Alliance. His shoes made a soft sound on the smooth floor. The chamber was massive, far bigger than anything on Earth. The walls were made of clear glass that showed the stars beyond. Thousands of stars floated in the darkness of space, and they seemed to watch him as he walked forward. Daniel was a human, and his body looked very small in this huge room. He was tall by Earth standards, but the other beings in the chamber made him look tiny. The Valorians stood 15 feet tall, their bodies made of crystal that caught the light and threw it everywhere. The Krell had thick bodies covered in purple skin, and they sat in special chairs that bent under their weight. The Centauri were made of metal and light, and they never stayed still for even one moment. Daniel had been selected to speak for all of humanity on this important day. Earth had sent him across the solar system and then across the stars on a fast ship. The journey took 4 months, even with the best engines that human technology could make. Now he was here, about to ask for Earth to join the Galactic Alliance. This was the most important moment of his life and the most important moment for his entire species. The council members sat in a circle around him. There were 47 of them, each one from a different civilization. Some had been in space for thousands of years. Some had explored more stars than Daniel could count. They were powerful, smart, and they had all the weapons and technology that a civilization could ever need. Daniel had only his words and his courage. Sovereign Lesara sat in the highest chair. She was the leader of the Valorians, and everyone in the chamber knew her name. Lesara had lived for more than 100,000 years. She had seen civilizations grow and fall. She had watched stars burn and die. Her crystal body was clear like glass, but deep inside, colors moved in patterns that seemed to carry meaning. When she looked at Daniel, her eyes were like diamonds filled with old, cold light. Daniel began his speech. His voice was steady, even though his heart beat fast inside his chest. He spoke about Earth and humanity. He spoke about how humans had only recently learned to fly in space. He told the council about humanity's art, music, and literature. He described how humans wrote books and painted pictures and sang songs. He explained how humans had worked together to build cities and roads and hospitals and schools. He spoke about human science and how humans had learned about the stars even before they could reach them. He told the council how humans had looked at the night sky and dreamed of what might be out there. He explained how humans had built telescopes and sent machines to other worlds in their solar system. He talked about how humans had created computers and robots and medicines that save lives. Daniel spoke for 20 minutes without stopping. His words were simple and easy to understand. He did not use difficult technical language. He did not try to make humanity sound better than it really was. He just told the truth about what humans were, what they had done, and what they could become. When he finished speaking, he stood quiet and waited for the council to respond. He could see some of the council members looking at each other. A few of them seemed to like what he had said, but most of them just looked bored. They had heard many presentations from young species before. They knew that the youngest civilizations always tried to talk about their potential and their hopes. Then Lesara stood up. The sound of her movement filled the chamber. Her crystal body made a noise like breaking glass, like wind chimes in a storm. She rose slowly from her chair, and the light from the stars reflected off her surface. Everyone in the council turned to look at her. Lesara's face was hard and cold. When she opened her mouth to speak, her voice was sharp and cutting. Her voice hurt to hear, like nails on a hard surface. "A human," Lesara said, her words filled with contempt. "How amusing. How very, very amusing. I have sat in this chamber for more than 80,000 years. I have listened to presentations from 237 different species. Most of them came to beg for our help. Most of them came to ask for our protection. but never before have I heard such empty words spoken with such seriousness. She pointed at Daniel with one long crystal arm. Your species has only just learned to leave your own planet. You have barely reached your nearest neighbor, a dead world made of rock and ice. Your entire civilization is younger than most of my conversations with the oldest members of this council. You are children. Worse than children. You are infants who have stolen their parents' tools, and now you come here thinking you deserve to sit with the adults. Lasara walked forward. Her footsteps were heavy and loud. The other council members said nothing. They did not stop her. They did not tell her to be quiet or to be kind. They just watched and listened. Your history is a history of violence, Lasara continued. You kill each other for reasons that are simple and stupid. You poison your own world. You destroy your own forests and fill your own air with poison. You have war after war, after war, thousands of years of war. Millions of your kind killed by other humans who look exactly like them but speak a different language or follow a different god. She walked closer to Daniel. She was so close now that he could see the colors moving inside her crystal body. He could see reds and oranges and yellows swirling like fire. And you have the nerve to come here and tell us that you should join our alliance? That we should trust you? That we should give you our technology and our protection? Your kind is not ready. Your kind may never be ready. I say we should forbid your species from leaving your own system. Build walls around your world. Keep humanity locked away until you can learn to act like a civilized species instead of like animals fighting over scraps of meat. Lasara's voice grew louder. You are inferior. Your minds are weak. Your bodies are fragile. Your lifespans are short. You cannot see the ultraviolet light like the Synthery. You cannot hear the deep sounds below sound like the Krull. You cannot live for hundreds of thousands of years and gain wisdom through time like we Valorians do. You are inferior in every way that matters. She turned away from Daniel and returned to her chair. My vote is no. Humanity should not join the Galactic Alliance. Humanity should be left alone on its single world until it learns better. The chamber was completely silent. No one spoke. No one moved. Everyone was looking at Daniel to see what he would do. Would he become angry? Would he shout back at Lasara? Would he try to defend his species against her harsh words? Would he cry? Would he leave the chamber in shame? Daniel stood very still. His hands did not shake. His face did not show anger or fear or sadness. He looked calm and peaceful, like he had expected to hear those words. Like he had known all along that this moment would come. Then Daniel took a breath, and he began to speak. Daniel's voice was calm and clear when he started to speak. His words were quiet, but in the silence of the chamber, everyone could hear him perfectly. He did not shout. He did not show anger. His voice was steady like a person talking to a friend, not like a person fighting in a war. Sovereign Lasara, Daniel said, looking directly at the crystal being in the high chair. I thank you for your honesty. I thank you for telling me exactly what you think. You are right about many things you have said. Humanity is young. Our history contains terrible violence. We have poisoned our world. We have killed each other for reasons that seem small and foolish now. These things are all true. I do not deny them. I do not try to hide them. He paused for a moment. The council members leaned forward. They were surprised that Daniel did not become defensive. They were surprised that he did not try to argue against what Lasara had said. But Daniel continued, I would like to offer a different way of thinking about these things. You have said that my species is inferior because we are young. You have measured our value by counting how many years we have lived and how much technology we have built. I understand why you measure value this way. It makes sense for a species like yours. Daniel took a step closer to the center of the chamber. He was still small compared to all the other beings, but his words were growing stronger. Sovereign Lysara, your civilization is more than 1 million years old. Your people have had time to build perfect cities. You have had time to learn from every mistake. You have had time to create order and peace. These are true achievements. I do not say they are not important, but I ask you a simple question. When was the last time your civilization created something that was truly new? When was the last time your people had to dream about what they could become because they knew they were not yet complete? The chamber became very quiet. The other council members made small sounds of surprise. The Syntheri, who were made of light and metal, began to move faster than usual. The Krell opened their big eyes wider. The Valorians looked at each other. No one had ever asked Lysara such a direct question. No one had ever challenged her way of thinking in front of the entire council. Daniel pressed forward with his words. His courage was growing as he spoke. You measure my species by standards that were made for your civilization, Daniel said. But those standards are wrong for judging humanity. It is like asking a young tree why it is not as big as an old tree, and then saying that the young tree will never be good because it has not yet grown. The question is not whether the young tree is smaller. The question is whether the young tree will grow well and reach toward the light. They looked around the chamber at all the different council members. Humanity is young, yes. This is true. But youth is not a weakness. Youth is a different kind of strength. We still dream because we have not yet seen all the things that can be done. We still hope because we have not yet lost our belief that tomorrow can be better than today. We still create beauty not because it helps us survive or gives us advantage, but because we must. We must create. We must sing. We must make art. This comes from something deep inside us. Something that having technology and living for thousands of years does not take away. Daniel paused, and his next words were very clear. You speak of our violence. You are correct. We are capable of terrible things. We kill each other. We destroy. We hurt the ones we love. But you must also know that humans are capable of something else. We are capable of changing. We can look at what we have done wrong, and we can choose to do better. We are not locked into being what we were yesterday. Every generation of humans can be better than the generation before. This is not a weakness, Sovereign Lysara. This is a strength. He took another step forward, and his voice became stronger and more certain. I will tell you something about humanity that you may not understand. We love our children more than we love our own lives. A human parent will die to protect a child who is not even their own child. We will run into fire. We will stand between our young and danger. This love is not logical. It does not follow the rules of science or technology. But it is real, and it is powerful. It makes us willing to do impossible things. Daniel looked directly at Lysara again. You have lived for 100,000 years. You have seen many civilizations come and go. Perhaps you have forgotten what it feels like to want something so badly that you would risk everything to get it. Perhaps you have forgotten what it feels like to dream about a future that you will not live to see, but that your children will live in. Humans dream about these things every day. We work for a future we will not reach. We plant trees that will give shade to people we will never meet. The other council members were very still now. They were listening with all their attention. You say that we are inferior because our bodies are fragile and our lives are short, Daniel said. But perhaps this makes us stronger in a way you do not see. Because we have only a short time, we understand that every moment matters. We do not waste our lives. We do not wait for tomorrow because we know that tomorrow might not come. We act today. We love today. We create today. We forgive today. Daniel's voice grew even more powerful. In a galaxy full of civilizations that have lived for millions and millions of years, perhaps what you need is not more old wisdom. Perhaps what you need is new dreams. Perhaps what you need is a species that still believes that impossible things can happen. Perhaps what you need is people who will try things that have never been tried before. Even if the risk is great, even if they fail. He looked around the entire council chamber, making eye contact with as many of the alien beings as he could. I do not ask you to ignore our weaknesses. I do not ask you to pretend that humanity is perfect or that we have no problems. I only ask you to consider that value is not measured only in years lived and technology built. Value is also measured in potential. Value is measured in hope. Value is measured in the capacity to change and grow and become something better than you were. Daniel turned his attention back to Lysara one final time. Your species is ancient and wise and powerful. These things are true. But I would ask you this. Is a galactic alliance stronger when it includes only the old and established? Or is it stronger when it also includes the young, who still have fire in their hearts, who still believe that the future can be different from the past, who still dream impossible dreams? He stopped speaking and waited. The chamber was absolutely silent. Even Lysara did not move. The colors inside her crystal body seemed to shift and change, as if something deep inside her had been touched by Daniel's words. The silence after Daniel finished speaking lasted for a long time. It seemed to stretch on forever. No one in the council chamber moved. No one spoke. The only sound was the quiet hum of machines that kept the chamber clean and cool. Then something unusual happened. The synthery, the beings made of light and metal, began to glow brighter. Their light pulsed and changed colors in quick patterns. This was how they communicated when they were excited or when their thoughts were moving very fast. The crow made deep sounds in their throats, the way they showed respect and agreement. Some of the smaller species began to speak to each other in quiet voices. Lysara sat very still in her chair. The colors moving inside her crystal body had stopped their normal patterns. They swirled in new ways, as if something inside her mind was changing. Within an hour, the council broke for a recess. This was unusual. The council almost never took breaks. Usually they listened to petitions and made decisions in one single meeting. But today they needed time to think about what had happened. Daniel walked out of the chamber with Marcus, a human scientist who had come with him on this journey. Marcus grabbed Daniel's arm and looked at him with wide eyes filled with amazement. I have never seen them react like that, Marcus said. His voice was shaking. I have studied these beings for 20 years, and I have never seen them respond to words in that way. What you said, it touched something in them. It touched something they did not know they still had. Daniel did not feel victory. He did not feel proud. He felt tired. He had spoken from a place deep inside himself, and it had taken all of his strength. His hands shook slightly, but he hid them in his pockets so Marcus would not see. I only told them the truth, Daniel said. I do not know if the truth is enough. Over the next weeks, something strange happened. The council did not make a decision about humanity. Instead, they did something even more unusual. They voted to send representatives to Earth. For the first time in recorded history, members of the Galactic Council would visit a young world. They would see where humans lived. They would try to understand what humans were really like. The first Valorian to visit Earth was named Coordinator Thorn. She was one of Lysara's direct assistants, and she had been chosen to study human civilization. Thorn was a small Valorian, only 10 feet tall, which meant she was still young by Valorian standards. She had lived only 30,000 years. Thorn arrived at the main city of Earth and was taken to see human buildings, human art, and human culture. She visited museums where human paintings hung on walls. She watched human dancers move to music. She read human books that had been translated into a language she could understand. But the thing that affected Thorn the most was something very simple. She went to a hospital where a human mother was holding a newborn baby. The mother had not slept in 2 days. She was exhausted. Her body was weak. But she looked at her child with a love that was so strong that even a Valorian could recognize it and understand it. The mother sang a soft song to her baby. The song was about hope and dreams and a future that the mother would help to build for her child. Thorn stood in the doorway and did not move. The colors inside her crystal body shifted and changed. When she left the hospital, Thorn was different. Something in her had been changed by what she had seen. Other members of the council began to visit Earth as well. They toured human universities and saw human scientists working on problems that they had not yet solved. They watched human children play, and they noticed that human children asked questions about everything, never satisfied with simple answers. They attended human concerts and heard music that was different from anything in the galaxy. The most powerful moment came when Sovereign Lasara herself decided to visit Earth. This shocked everyone. Lasara almost never left the council chamber. For 80,000 years, she had stayed in the same place, ruling over the council. But now she came to Earth. Lysara went to an old library, one of the oldest in the world. The library held millions of human books. Books about history, about science, about love, about war, about dreams, about everything that humans had ever thought or felt or done. Lasara spent an entire day in that library. She read books written by humans who had lived thousands of years ago. She read about philosophers who had asked questions about why life existed and what it meant. She read about poets who had written about loss and love. She read about scientists who had asked questions that had no answers. When Lasara came out of the library, her crystal surface seemed to have changed. The colors inside her body were brighter. Her movements seemed slower, more careful, like someone carrying something very heavy and very precious. Marcus was waiting outside the library. He approached Lysara slowly, carefully, ready to step back if she showed anger. But Lysara did not show anger. Instead, she did something that shocked everyone who was watching. She bowed. Not a small movement, but a deep, real bow, the kind that Valorians only gave to leaders and to the elders of their own species. "I was wrong," Lysara said. Her voice was different now. It was still sharp and clear, but the contempt was gone. "I measured your species by a scale that was not meant for measuring life so young. I did not see the value in a species that still dreams." She looked at Marcus and then at the city of Earth around them. "Your young human showed me the truth," Lysara continued. "He showed me that strength is not only measured in years and technology. Strength is measured in the capacity to still hope, to still dream, to still believe that tomorrow can be better than today. Your species has these things in abundance. And in a galaxy as old and tired as mine has become, these things are rare and precious." Lysara looked at the sun setting over the Earth, painting the sky in shades of orange and red and purple. "I came here wanting to prove that humanity was too young to be worthy of our attention. Instead, I learned that I have forgotten what it felt like to be young. I have forgotten what it felt like to believe that anything was possible. Your species has taught me something that I thought was lost forever. For that, I am grateful." The Galactic Council called for a final vote after 2 months of investigation and study. This time, the chamber was different. It was filled with a new feeling, something that had not existed before. It was respect. Real respect. Not just the cold formality of the council doing its duty. Daniel stood in the chamber once again. But this time, he was not alone. Representatives from 30 different human nations were with him. They stood together, united, showing to the galaxy that humanity spoke with one voice. They wore clothing from Earth, clothing that showed the colors and patterns of human culture. Some wore traditional clothes from their ancestors. Others wore simple clothes. Together they showed that humanity was diverse and varied and beautiful. Lysara stood to read the council's decision. Her movements were slow and thoughtful. She looked at Daniel for a long moment before she spoke. "The Galactic Council has made its choice," Lysara said. And her voice carried through the chamber and beyond it, to every corner of the galaxy where the Council's broadcasts reached. "We have voted on the question of humanity's place in this alliance. The results are not what I expected when we first heard the petition of this young species." She paused, and the tension in the chamber grew thick. "Humanity is admitted to the Galactic Alliance," Lysara announced. "By a vote of 45 in favor and 2 in opposition, humanity has been granted full membership with all the rights and responsibilities that this membership brings." The chamber erupted in sounds of approval. The Syntheri glowed so brightly they had to dim their light so they would not be painful to look at. The Krell made their deep sounds of respect. The smaller species whistled and clicked and made sounds of celebration. It was a noise like a festival, like a celebration that had been waiting to happen. Daniel felt tears come to his eyes. Around him, the other human representatives embraced each other. Some of them fell to their knees. Some of them looked up at the stars, visible through the transparent ceiling, and seemed to pray to something beyond the stars. Lysara raised her hand, and the chamber became quiet once more. "But there is more to this decision than simple admission," Lysara continued. "The Council has also voted to take actions that will help humanity grow. We are offering Earth access to medical technology that will increase your lifespan and improve the health of your people. We are offering education in physics and mathematics and engineering. We are offering to help you clean your world and heal the damage that past generations have done." She looked directly at Daniel. "We are also offering something that is perhaps more valuable. We are offering protection. The galaxy contains dangers that your young civilization has not yet encountered. Predatory species that see young civilizations as prey. Resources that others might want to take by force. The Galactic Alliance will use its strength to protect Earth and humanity while you continue to grow and learn." Lysara's next words came slowly, with great meaning. "But with this protection comes responsibility. Humanity will be expected to contribute to the Alliance. You will share your art and your culture and your perspectives with the greater galactic community. You will participate in decisions that affect all of us. You will help to protect other young species that join the Alliance after you. You will use your unique gift, which is the gift of hope and imagination and the ability to dream, to help guide this ancient alliance toward better futures." She bowed again, the same deep bow that she had given in the Library of Earth 100,000 years ago. "I thought I understood everything," Lysara said. "I thought that age and technology and power were all that mattered. I thought that a species had to be complete and perfect to be valuable. But a young human named Daniel Prescott showed me that I was wrong. He showed me that potential matters, that dreams matter, that hope matters, that the ability to change and grow and become something better than you were matters more than anything." Lysara looked at the entire assembly of council members. "Today, we admit not just a new species to our alliance. Today, we admit the thing that we have been missing for thousands and thousands of years. We admit youth and change and hope and the belief that the future can be different from the past." The celebration continued for hours. Members of the council came to greet Daniel and the other human representatives. They shared their welcome. Some of them asked questions about Earth and human culture. Others simply stood nearby and felt something new, something that they had forgotten how to feel. 3 of the council members changed their votes from opposition to support. They explained that they had been moved by seeing how the other council members treated humanity with respect. They understood that they had been wrong in their initial judgments. Later that night, Daniel sat in a viewing room that looked out at the stars. He was alone with his thoughts. Marcus found him there and sat down next to him. "We did it," Marcus said. "Humanity has a place among the stars now. We are not alone anymore." Daniel looked at his companion and shook his head slightly. "That is not really what happened," Daniel said quietly. "What happened is that they learned to see themselves in us. They saw their own forgotten youth in humanity. They saw that we were not inferior. We were different. And that difference was something they needed." He pointed at a bright star in the sky. "Somewhere on a world around that star, there is a young species just learning about space. In 100 years or 1,000 years, they will come to this council and ask for admission. And now, because of what happened here today, humanity will be there to welcome them. We will tell them that being young is not a weakness. We will tell them that their dreams matter. We will tell them that the future can be different from the past." Marcus smiled and nodded. "Do you think that is how change happens?" Marcus asked. "Do you think that one person speaking the truth can change the entire direction of a galaxy?" Daniel thought about this for a long moment. "I think change happens when someone stops being angry and starts being honest," Daniel said. "I think change happens when someone refuses to meet contempt with contempt and instead shows the truth of who they are. Lasara expected me to fight. She expected me to be defensive. Instead, I showed her respect, and because I showed her respect, she was able to change her mind without feeling that she had lost. Both of us won something today. She won the knowledge that she was wrong, and she won the chance to be better than she was before." The two men sat in silence and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity had a new future, and it had all started with one person who refused to be angry when he was mocked. 5 years after the council vote, Daniel Prescott stood once more in the grand chamber of the Galactic Alliance. He was no longer a visitor presenting a petition. He was now the official ambassador of Earth, representing all of humanity in the council. His position was one of respect and honor. The youngest ambassador in the council's history, yet the most listened to when he spoke. The Earth had changed dramatically in those 5 years. With access to medical technology from the Alliance, human lifespans had increased. Children who would have died from illness now lived. People who would have been disabled could now be healed. The average human lifespan had doubled from 70 years to 140 years. Families had time to grow larger, to teach more, to learn more. The Earth itself was healing. The technology that the Galactic Alliance shared allowed humans to clean their poisoned rivers and their polluted air. Forests that had been cut down were being replanted. Whales that had been hunted to extinction were being brought back through genetic science. The world was becoming green and alive again. Human scientists had made discoveries that surprised even the ancient civilizations of the galaxy. They had found new mathematical patterns that no one had noticed before. They had created art in forms that other species had never imagined. Human music had become popular throughout the galaxy. Human movies were watched by billions of aliens. Human literature was studied in universities on worlds, circling distant stars. But the most important change was something that could not be measured. The mood of humanity had changed. For thousands of years, humans had been trapped on their single world, limited and frustrated. Now they had hope. They could see a future that was unlimited. Young humans studied to become explorers and scientists. They trained to go to new worlds and to help build a better galaxy. They believed that anything was possible. Today, the Council was voting on something that would not have been possible 5 years ago. A young species, barely 100 years ahead of humanity in space technology, had arrived at the Council with a petition for admission to the Alliance. Their name was the Koresh, and they came from a world of mountains and deep oceans. The Koresh were nervous. They had been warned by observers that the Council often rejected young species. They had been told that ancient civilizations did not respect the young. They had been warned to expect contempt and dismissal. Lysera stood to introduce the Koresh to the Council. She looked at them with kind eyes, not the cold eyes she had shown 5 years earlier. "The Koresh have traveled far to come here," Lysara said to the Council. "They are young, yes. They are still learning, yes. But they have something that the galaxy needs. They have courage. They have hope. They have dreams about a future that they will help build. I personally recommend that we listen to their petition with open minds and respect." Daniel spoke next. He stood and looked at the Koresh representatives, who sat nervously in the chamber. "I remember standing where you are standing," Daniel said, speaking to the young aliens. "I remember the fear of being judged by civilizations that were thousands and thousands of years older than my own. I remember thinking that we might not be good enough. But let me tell you something important. Being young is not a weakness. Being young means you still have dreams. It means you still believe that change is possible. And the galaxy needs dreamers." The Koresh ambassador, a purple creature with many arms, looked at Daniel with gratitude and hope. When the Council voted, the result was unanimous. Every single member voted in favor of the Koresh joining the alliance. Even the 2 members who had voted against humanity 5 years ago had changed their minds. They had seen how accepting humanity had changed the galaxy for the better. They wanted the same thing for the Koresh. After the vote, Lysara approached Daniel. She had become something close to a friend to him, though their relationship was still strange and complicated. An ancient being and a young human separated by time and biology and experience, yet connected by respect and understanding. "You have changed the galaxy," Lysara said simply. "When you chose to speak to my contempt with truth instead of anger, when you chose to show respect instead of defensiveness, you set in motion a chain of events that will echo through millions of years. Because of you, this alliance will grow differently. We will welcome the young. We will listen to their dreams. We will help them grow instead of trying to control them." Daniel listened to her words, and he felt both honored and humbled. "I did not plan for any of this," Daniel said. "I only did what seemed right in that moment. I could have become angry. I could have defended humanity against your words. But those things would not have changed anything. They would only have made you more certain that you were right about us. So I chose to show you the truth instead." Lysara's crystal body reflected the light from the stars beyond the window. "That is what I am saying," Lysara continued. "You showed me the truth. And because you showed it to me with respect, I was able to hear it. I was able to change. And in changing, I helped to change the alliance. Now, species join us not because they have achieved some standard of technology or age. They join us because they have hope and dreams and the potential to grow." She placed a crystal hand on Daniel's shoulder, and it felt like the weight of 1,000 years resting there. "Your grandchildren will explore the galaxy," Lysara said. "Your great-grandchildren will help to govern worlds that you have never seen. And they will do this because one human refused to be beaten down by contempt. That is a legacy that will last longer than the stars themselves." Daniel looked out the window at the infinite space beyond the chamber. He thought of all the humans back on Earth who had waited for this moment. He thought of the children who would now grow up, believing that anything was possible. He thought of the future that stretched ahead, bright and full of promise. He thought of the moment when Lysara had mocked him, when she had said that humanity was inferior and should be locked away. He thought of how different everything might have been if he had responded with anger or defensiveness or pride. Instead, he had chosen something else. He had chosen to be calm. He had chosen to be honest. He had chosen to show respect even to someone who was showing him contempt. and that one choice had changed everything. Lysara left Daniel to return to her seat in the council chamber. As she walked away, the colors inside her crystal body swirled in new patterns. Patterns that Daniel was beginning to recognize as the Valorian equivalent of happiness and satisfaction. Now Daniel walked to the viewing window and pressed his hand against the glass. Somewhere out there was Earth, a small blue world circling an ordinary star. It was home. It was where humanity had started its journey. And now, humanity would travel to the stars and beyond, all because one person had refused to meet contempt with contempt, all because one person had chosen honesty over anger, respect over pride, and hope over despair. The future was uncertain, as all futures are. But for the first time in human history, the future was unlimited, and humanity was ready to explore it. Daniel smiled at his reflection in the glass, a young human among the ancient stars, and felt the weight of his position and the lightness of his hope, balanced perfectly in the moment.